Now I will show you how to interact with database using the query builder. Query builder is actually a powerful and flexible feature of the Laravel framework. It provides a convenient way to build and execute the database queries. It allows you to interact with your database without writing the raw SQL queries, and so the database operations become more readable, maintainable, and secure. I am going to show you so that you can understand. So first of all, I am going to the web.php. In this route, I am going to show you an example with the students. I am going to insert data first. Okay, so students create or student create, I write here. This is the route, and here I will write student controller, and I will have to write this student controller like this as class, and the method will be create. Now in the top I will use it, but before going to do that, I am going to create a controller. So php artisan, then make controller, and then my controller name will be student controller. And I also will create a migration, php artisan make migration, then create students table. Okay, so create students table, and in the migration file I am going to their database, then migrations, and this is the migration file. Here I am going to add some data. For example, some column I am going to add. One is a string, that is for example name, and another student field is for example the email, and another one I am going to add here, that is student is, and this can be integer value, so integer. So these three items will be used as column for the students table, and here I am going to create the table now. So php artisan migrate, so the table will be created, but here it is showing error because root localhost. Okay, I am going to the .env file, as this is a fresh Laravel installation. So here I put my password root. This is the database name, that is Laravel. I am going to check my PHP my admin. Here is no database by this name, but no problem. Now I am going to run it. Now the connection is okay. You see that it is asking me if it will create table. I tell yes. Now if you go here, it will create database. Okay, so you see that a database by this name Laravel comes here. So the students table also is created here, and you see that name, email is, and created at and updated at. These two are the optional fields. Okay, nullable fields. Now I am going to open my controller. Here this task is done. Okay, now I am going to close it. I am going to app http controllers. Here I created my controller, and this is the boilerplate, and here I will use public function, then create function, because I want to create now a student data. So in order to create the student data using the Eloquent, so I am going to show you how to do that. First of all, remember that I will use a DB facet. So here you just write use DB. Now in order to insert the data into the database, first call the DB, then table. You will have to use in the query builder system the DB : then table, and here as the parameter I will tell my table name. So this is students table. You see that the students table is this, but there is no data now. I am now going to use another one, that is insert. This function I will call here. So DB table students, for first you will have to use the DB table to select the table, and then you will have to use this symbol and then insert function in order to insert the data. You can pass the data from outside using a variable, for example like this, data equal to, in array format you can give here and pass the data here afterwards. So here what I will do, I can easily pass the data, or here if you want that you will insert it straight here. If you can also do that. Here my data has what, that is name. So Arifin is the first student, for example. Then there is another data, that is email, and I am going to give the value of the email here now. And another one is age, and the age is integer value, for example 30. So my task is actually done. If you run this query, this data will be inserted into the table. You see that name, email and age, and here this data will be inserted. Here the name, email, age, these are the table field name, and these are the information that will be inserted there. Now I am going to check it. So in order to check it, here I am going to write student create my route, enter. Student controller does not exist, okay, because in the web.php in the top I will have to use app http controllers, then student controller, otherwise this will not work. Now if I refresh, if I go to the database, you see that this one is inserted without any issue. So this is perfect. Now I am going to add another student, for example this one, and his age is 25. Now I am going to refresh this one. Now go here and refresh, you see that the another student information comes here. If you want, you can insert the multiple data here. For example, I will insert another data here. This is first one, and I will insert the another data. So just copy this item and paste it here. For example, two student data I am going to insert in the same time, okay, but here actually array into array. So here I am going to do one thing, that is I am going to cut it, okay. Now like this is an array, so here is inside another one. So here I will add two students. One is, for example, Smith, and it is 28, and here the age is 35. This is David, like this. Now if I run this, what will happen? I am going to refresh. Now I am going to check my table. You see that the two students come together, okay. So in this way you can easily run this query in order to insert data into the database table using the query builder.